now?
Good
Hi,
question.
my name is
At the
Ted
time, I
Kilpatrick,
was a lieutenant colonel in the Army here in Fayetteville, North Carolina
on the
today,
division
and
staff at the 82nd
happy to
Airborne
help you
Division.
any way I can. Actually, now I'm retired and I'm a minister.
What first crossed your mind when you heard about the 9/11 attack?
When am I going to war? At the time, I was in the 82nd Airborne Division, and I knew that we were the rapid response force for the United States, and it was clearly going to be a matter not of if we would respond, but when we would respond. And that was my first response. It was like, oh my, this is bad.
Where were you and how did you find out about it?
I was on Fort Bragg, and I was actually in a medical clinic, and I walked out, and there was a TV out in the lobby of this medical facility, and everybody was gathered around, and I watched one of the towers of the World Trade Center fall, and I thought, what is this? Is this a movie? Because I had stood at the base of that tower as a little boy as it was being built, and I just thought, this is so gargantuan, it could never possibly fall. And it had been damaged in 1993, but they didn't even come close to toppling it. So I just thought, it could never be knocked down. I ran at the Pentagon at the time of the attack, and I found out later, his name was Alan, and he and I were actually junior high school buddies, and lived in the same neighborhood and played football together. He was a commander in the Navy, and he was in a conference room in one of the wings, and he left the meeting that he was in to go get a Diet Coke from a vending machine, and he went out and pressed the button like he'd always done, and it was out of Diet Coke. So he left that, I can't remember what they're called, they're concentric circles, if you will, but he left that wing of the Pentagon, went through another wall to go to another vending machine, and that's when the plane came in. And everybody who was in that conference room was killed, with the exception of him, because he had left to go get a Diet Coke. And unfortunately, a lot of those people have a very difficult time struggling with guilt. And my friend, in fact, underwent many counseling sessions to try to get through the grief and the guilt of, why me, or why not me?
Did you know anyone that worked at the Pentagon?
I did. I had a lot of people that I knew. Some of them I was very close to. And the Pentagon's such a big place, and the Army's such a big place, that anyone in the upper ranks of the Army could be at the Pentagon on any given day without you knowing it. So yes, when I found out that the Pentagon was also being attacked, I was very, very concerned.
Do you know anyone who was killed?
I do. Actually, I was supposed to be at the Pentagon that day, and I had a wonderful job assignment at the Pentagon, where I was going to be responsible for rewriting the Army's leadership doctrine. And I thought for sure I was going to get that job, but as fate would have it, somebody else got that job instead of me. And so his boss, who I knew was a 3-star general, and I knew him as well, and both of them were killed on that day, which was pretty. And it took me a while to put all that together, that was supposed to be me. There's a lot I could say about that. But it was pretty emotional, and definitely quite a learning experience for me to be careful. And I'm just going to say this, you can cut it out if you want to, but be careful not to doubt God's plans. And so for me, that was a real element of faith, that to see that I was being protected when I lost that job, but I certainly didn't feel like that at the time.
What do you think about every time you hear about it? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, that's a really good question. I guess senseless. You know, it didn't solve anything. Not a thing. It's just so much suffering and hate, and you know, an act of terror. What does it really do? Except maybe create more terror. So I don't know that anybody honestly has benefited from it. No cause has been advanced. Nothing's been solved.
Yeah.
Just the world is a lot more tense, untrusting place.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I suppose. You know, I think our country had to respond, so I don't blame any of our leaders for the way they responded. That was their job, and you know, they are elected in part to defend us, and so they had to respond. And I think a lot of people have suffered as a result of 9/11. The vast majority of them in all countries were completely innocent. So what do you say about that? What do you do? And I don't have a solution other than I think I do realize that hate, it's just not an answer to anything.
Thank you for letting us interview you. Thank you.
You're welcome.